I was in a room full of people who were friendly to me, and I felt absolutely alone because not one of them knew anything about me or what I was carrying. Having already built the foundation stones, we're now going to talk about the storms they prepare you for. This first storm is loneliness, and it's one of those things that men really cover well. This isn't a video about how to make friends. That's the circle of support stone, and I'll point you back to it. This one is about what the storm actually feels like and why it's a lot more dangerous than most men think. The thing about this storm and about loneliness is that you can be surrounded by people and be in a room full of friends, a full calendar, a marriage, and still be drowning in a sense of loneliness. I've felt this storm in the past in places that you'd least expect, and I'll tell you about where that happened. This storm nearly cost me everything once, and I didn't even see it coming. Let me take you into one of the loneliest places I've been, in a room full of people. Between 2006 and 2010, the years when I was using, I went from a job where I was sitting at a desk and I was home every night to a job where I was on the road, and I wasn't ready for it. I wasn't ready for empty hotel rooms in towns where I didn't know anybody and nobody knew me. I remember a company dinner in a room full of people and feeling completely isolated, completely alone, and it had nothing to do with them. It was the conversation I was having with myself, the secrets in my head, the things that I didn't feel like I could bring to anybody. That sense of shame, that sense of disconnection built a wall between me and every person there. Here's the part that I would like you to sit with, which is I wasn't alone because there wasn't anyone there. I was alone because I couldn't let anyone get close enough to know me. And the one person who did know me, Lori, my wife, was hundreds of miles away. So I was in a room where I didn't feel safe, in another town where nobody knew me, with really nothing to do at the end of the day. I tried. There were things that I did, like go for runs and try to explore. But after a day of trying to justify my existence or make sure that I knew what I was doing in my job, all of that kind of came crashing down. It reminded me of those times when I was a kid in my childhood home, in the dark, quiet, no one else at home. And so I went back to the way that I always used to handle that. It was a secret. It was something that at the time I told Lori that I wasn't going to do anymore. But I did it. I did not know another way to deal with that loneliness, not when it was so easy to get to. And it felt like relief. It felt like the way that I would be able to navigate those type of moments. And it was something that was familiar to me, and it also was something that felt like it understood me. And I didn't have anybody that I could go to, and really nothing else I could go to. I understood at the time there was nothing that was as quick, that felt as good, that did what I wanted it to do. I get that I made choices, and those felt like the easiest or safest choices to make in that moment. And once I had one secret, it was easy to get another one. It was easy to do it again. And each time it cut me off from Lori more and more. It cut me off from the people around me. And the more isolated I felt, the more I went back to it. The more I went back to it, the more isolated I felt. And the very thing that I was trying to get away from, the isolation, led me to something that felt more isolated. It was the very fuel from my own isolation. And out of this, I was building a whole second life. Things that I couldn't say to Lori, things that I couldn't say to the one person who knew me at that time. And every secret put another brick between me and her, even though I was hundreds of miles away. So that's why a man alone with his secrets isn't just lonely, he's in danger. Because those secrets start to feel like the only thing that he can turn to and the only thing that understands him, the only thing that solves his problem, even while it's feeding the very problem that he already had. Why would a man stay in a storm like this? Because it feels safer to be lonely than to be known. When there is so much emphasis put on looking like you have it all together, whether that's at work, at church or sometimes even at home, trying to maintain that image is the only thing that some guys know how to do. It's the only thing that's keeping his life from falling apart from his perspective. And I live that. I believe that if people saw what was really going on, I'd lose everything. So I kept the polite, distant version of myself out front and stayed alone behind it. Part of what made that worse is what I know addicts deal with, but I think men tend to deal with too, is this idea of terminal uniqueness. The belief that no one else could possibly struggle with what I'm struggling with. That my secrets made me one of a kind. That's not humility, that's pride wearing a disguise. And it kept me isolated for years. Even in church, the place where it's supposed to be safe, it can also be very polite and distant. Men in some of those church groups can, again, be in that place of performance, talking about what we learned, talking about our knowledge, but not really talking about what was going on for me or what was going on for them. And so church wasn't always a safe place for me either. And really one of the most difficult, cruel things about this storm is where it hits, because it doesn't wait for you to be ready. The storm of loneliness can hit really at any time, and very often it's not through the door you would expect. Not just death or divorce, maybe it's a promotion or a move, a new job like mine. The version of this storm that should scare you isn't really the most dramatic one. It's quiet. It's when you've made your wife your only connection, and then she gets sick. For years, you went to her as the one person that knew you, the one person that you leaned on for everything. And now she's the one who needs care. And she can't be there for you anymore. She doesn't have the strength to give it, and she needs all that she can possibly get for herself to get through what she's going through. The timing of this, when you're at your loneliest moment, arrives exactly when you need help to carry all of this. The caregiving, the fear, watching her suffer, and there's no one there for you because you never took the time to build it. You never brought anyone else in. Putting it all on her doesn't work when she's the one who needs to be held. This is why you can't make her the only person that knows you. Not because she isn't enough, but because loading your whole inner life onto one person means that when one person falls, you both hit the ground. The time to get storm ready is not when it starts raining. And so the time for you to have other men in your life is before the person you lean on the most is the one who now needs you the most. It doesn't wait for old age. A story came to me of a man who lost his wife young with 2 small kids. You don't get to choose when this storm arrives. The men who get destroyed by it are the ones who waited, the ones who assumed that they'd never have to face it, who figured that they would build the connections when they needed them. And by then it's too late. So many programs that exist out there are after the storm has hit. Very few people talk about what to do before. And if the storm's already here, you don't have that support that you need. You are standing in an empty room. So here's what I wish someone had made me understand years before I needed it. The reason I felt this storm in rooms full of people, in the military, in church, at that work dinner, was never about the people in the room. It was that I wasn't known. Being around people isn't the cure. Being known is. And like I said, almost every place that helps with these kind of events exists after the tragedy. The grief group, the recovery room, they're good, they're valuable, they're great places to land. But most men wait until the crisis to go looking. The men who survived this storm build their circle before it came. Not when the diagnosis hit, not when the marriage broke, but before. So that when the storm arrived, there was already someone who knew them. This is why the very first foundation stone is all about building that inner circle. I'm not going to reteach that here. Go watch 7.01, but understand why it's first, because the storm of loneliness is coming. And being known ahead of it is the only thing that makes it easier to survive. And like I've said, being known isn't the same as being surrounded. I had to let people actually see me, secrets and all, before the loneliness lifted. The time to be known is before you need to be, because when the storm hits, you can't build the circle and survive the storm at the same time. So what can you do about it this week? Don't worry about building your circle. That's in the other video. Just answer one question honestly. If the worst thing happened tomorrow, who actually knows you? Not who likes you, who knows you. If the answer is one person or no one, then this storm is on the horizon and it's waiting for you. Sit with that for a minute. That's where it starts. On the next episode, we're going to be talking about the storm of anger. Where does all of that come from? We'll talk about what that looks like and how to handle it well. Go to stormreadymen.com and take the assessment. If you're married, send your wife to the Couple Cure.